We are rolling.
Bryan,
Yes.
you were very passionate about beginning this podcast.
Okay. I was told a story by my dad the other day. Mm-hmm. It's been a year now since we've been in this lockdown situation. And my dad and his friends, they like to do this kind of Friday night video call quiz thingy. Do your parents do this, or do you know anyone kind of does this thing?
My mum's in a book club. It's about the closest thing.
Okay. Well, this is like a table quiz, but it's all done through video chat, and my dad does this with a couple of his friends, and my mum joins in sometimes as well. It'll usually be kind of like my parents and two other friend couples of a team of 6, let's say. And one of them always has to be kind of like the team lead on this to like submit all the answers. So my dad takes that role. Mm-hmm. But he said that recently the team were hit with a very, very difficult question. And it wasn't because the question was difficult. It's because the answer was. So they're doing great. They're answering a lot of right questions, and they're feeling good about this quiz. And they get hit with this question. How many dwarves were there with Snow White? And everyone in the group is like, okay, but someone, my dad's friend, I don't want to say his name because he might listen to the podcast.
He doesn't.
No, Niamh, I don't know what's wrong with this guy. He goes, there's 8. And my dad's like, oh yeah? No, there's not. There's 7. And he's like, no, there's 8. I played one of the dwarves in my school play, and it really, I still remember it. And they're like...
Yeah, the stage production, Snow White and the 8 Dwarfs.
Yeah, that's what he said. When he was a little boy, he played one of the dwarves in the school stage play. And my dad goes, what was the name of the dwarf he played? And he went, Dizzy.
So they met up a pity dwarf for this kid who won't let it go.
Now, you have 30 seconds to answer each question. And my dad doesn't have 30 seconds to break this man's heart and tell him that the role he played 50 years...
My whole life, there was always just this one fictional character that really spoke to me. That's because I like spinning around so much.
Dizzy the dwarf. And so... my dad can't tell him, like, look, listen, they gave you a pity role in this school play in Ireland in the 1950s or 60s. Like, because, like, this is an adult man in his late 50s, early 60s.
Savor that. That's the perfect person you get to destroy a dream for.
But
you got a pity role, and you're wrong for 50 years.
My dad didn't know what to do, so do you know what he did? He said, okay, let's put down 8 dwarves.
No!
They got the fucking answer wrong, and his friend is still thinks he's Dizzy the dwarf.
Oh, your poor father. That couldn't have been nice.
He really, really wanted... like, I think afterwards he kind of told them, but he was just like, look, we needed to be optimized as a team. We had to take a hit. We had to take a wrong answer.
Yeah. Wow. I hope your dad's friend goes on to write his own story about Dizzy the dwarf. Do you think the other dwarves had to be like, Dizzy... we're so fucking sick of your shit.
Like,
get out.
Like, the dwarves are coming back and they see Snow White in the house.
Yeah.
And they look at Dizzy and they go, Dizzy, get out.
Yeah, and Dizzy's like spinning all over the place and he's knocking shit down.
She needs a bed.
Yeah.
You gotta leave.
It's like... listen, that bed's always been way too fucking big for you.
And he's like, but what about Dopey? And he's like, Dopey's a valuable member of this.
You think Dopey's gonna survive out there?
Dizzy, you're strong.
You've always been the best among us. Welcome to the Let's Fight a Boss video game podcast. The world's strongest video game podcast, sitting to my left. The 9th dwarf. It's... Niamh, help me out here.
Felicity Angel's Breath.
What?
Felicity Angel's Breath Bryan.
Damn.
Hey. And then for Niamh?
Bryan, help me out here.
Leisure.
Leisure the dwarf.
Ledger the dwarf.
I got
Wow.
to stay in her bed.
And
Yeah. I hope.
And with you always, the purest one of us all, Snow White John.
Snow John White.
We've been doing this podcast for like nearly 6 years.
Yep.
I like to think that opens up the range of things the three of us can have like a comfortable conversation about.
Yeah, we were talking about poo earlier on.
Yeah. Let's talk bidets.
Okay.
What's the deal? For or against?
I've only seen one in real life. So.
See, I've only seen one. Never vent.
Yeah, I don't think I've used... well, I've used it in the way a kid uses it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you turn it on and you're
Yeah.
like, what
Play
the
with
fuck
it.
is
Yeah,
this
you
for?
splash it. How about like with a Japanese toilet?
I've used like fancy Japanese toilets, but one's never sprayed my butt.
Oh, John, it's amazing.
Is it?
I didn't get bidets. Also, the bidet my granny had was cold water, and it can't like it's not. It shouldn't be cold water. It should be like lukewarm water to play on the
That's like
the rump.
the most Catholic play on something French ever.
Well, we can get the bidet, but it better be ice cold water.
You're gonna suffer through this pleasure.
Because like I feel like with bidets, I like have a fundamental problem with them, and I want to start by saying I'm a very cleanly person in all regards. Bathe multiple times a day. Very careful about my hands, especially since the pandemic. But I also feel like there's some parts of your body that are just, they're only going to get so clean. And the butthole is one of those parts. Like the cleanest butthole in the world is still pretty fucking dirty, you know?
Do you not take the shower head out of your shower and squat and turn it 180 degrees?
I have a different method that does not involve that.
Man, I like frogging it.
God.
Go on, Niamh. Chip in.
I just don't believe that there's like that they can only get so clean, because they can get very clean.
They can get very clean. There's still like all your fucking guts and everything like within an inch.
John,
And then they get sweaty as well.
just don't poo.
That okay, look, this is what it comes down to. It comes down to poo. It's like it's a place poo comes out of. How fucking clean is it getting?
I'm so sad. This is awful. This is terrible.
I think mouths are pretty gross as well. You can nuke a mouth with like mouthwash, but it's gonna get fucking...
So you're gonna put mouthwash in your asshole. That's what we're going for here.
Yeah, I'll try it out. I'm sure.
I mean,
I'm sure there's a video on the internet.
You say that, and yeah, I'm so sorry, everyone.
Oh, people are having a great time listening. So,
No, they're not. No, they're not. There's people eating cereal, starting off their morning the wrong way. There's people eating dinner, starting off their dinner the
Niamh,
wrong way.
The Let's Fight a Boss instructions are very clear. You sit down, you put your headphones in, not earphones, you put your headphones on, you sit there for 2 hours and 40 minutes and you do nothing. You do not listen to this podcast playing games. You don't fucking put it on at the gym. You sit down and you listen to it. You do not skip sections. We do not provide a time code because this is a tapestry.
do you remember one time we got an email from a guy who's like, "Can you turn up the volume in your podcast because it's too quiet when I shower?" I got a solution for you, buddy.
In fairness, I'm a shower podcast person as well, so I get it.
Really?
Yeah, it's great.
So
Fantastic.
would you just have your phone, or would there be a speaker involved?
Just my phone, just outside
Okay.
the shower. It's loud enough.
See, for me, I just have conversations that I win,
Yeah, like shower time is me time.
and it's me practicing cartoon voices, and then I look in the mirror and I practice my faces. I have a ritual.
What kind of faces do you do, Brian?
I do like the Grinch, and I do like creepy old aunt, and then I do creepy old uncle, and then I do grandpa's crawling out of the attic, and then I do
These are getting progressively. Oh,
and then I do grandma's transforming into a werewolf, and then I do newborn baby goat.
All the classics.
I feel like there was a kind of descent into like paganism there.
Oh yeah, I'm working on my summons.
Cool. That's. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
What does Zaddy mean? Zaddy.
Zaddy.
Is that a thing?
Like a daddy?
I think
know.
that's daddy with a lisp.
That's a weird lisp.
It's like daddy with a glitch.
Huh.
I think it's just daddy,
Okay.
but gare.
It's more inclusive, maybe?
Yeah, it's the D in
Is this a
daddy.
pronoun thing? Well, I mean, okay, sure.
Why?
I'm
Have
just
you been
thinking.
called Zaddy?
It's not important.
Okay.
John, what are you doing?
I don't know.
David Tomorrow is the new Zaddy everyone wants.
Is that John's psychic persona?
Yeah.
I guess 73.
Okay.
That wasn't 37. It was close.
Oh, cool.
But it wasn't.
That's
My
valuable
favorite
feedback.
comment is people telling you the answer that was wrong. Mine was 97.
You're too.
Is everyone telling you that?
No, a lot of people were like, "Holy shit!"
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, then you pick those ones to prove your point. Isn't that the idea?
I didn't pick any comments. I look at like 4 comments and then I'm like, well, now to never think of this video ever again.
How about what I do is I print out some of the comments and I give them to you? And you
Yeah, sure.
or how about you take a bath and I'll read them out to you while you have your bath?
It's I watched The Little Norse Prince, also known as Horus of the Sun.
What?
It's just a
What are
Little
you
Prince, like
talking
the
about?
children's book, or what
Yeah.
is this?
It's kind of like the first Ghibli movie, but it's not Ghibli because they weren't called Ghibli yet. Hayao Miyazaki worked on it.
But it's not Heidi and it's not Nausicaa.
No, it's before Nausicaa. It's like 1969 or something.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's really early.
Oh, I know the one.
If
Yes.
you saw the DVD cover, you'd be like, "Oh, that fucking thing."
I remember
'Cause
from
was
Tower
one of the-
Records, and it's
that's-
not a crucifix, but he is fixing something up.
It's a big sword.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it looks like a crucifix because it looks like he's mounting it.
Yeah, it kind of does. And he has this like nice orange getup on in the cover.
Yeah.
He does not wear that in the movie. Of
course not.
Very disappointed.
I'm sure the film does not look like that image.
You know what? If you watch the first 10 minutes of this movie and the last 10 minutes of this movie, it's really impressive, especially for the time frame it was made. Gets a little choppy in the middle to the point that some scenes are literally just stills cutting back and forth. It's about little Horus. He is not from the sun, but in fact just a regular human. And it's like interesting. You can see like the seeds of stuff in there, but it's not like Nausicaa where you could turn it on and still be like, oh, this is actually like just still a really interesting film. Like it's not that movie, and like the animation standard is not anywhere close to where they'd get.
Yeah.
But it's like enjoyable enough, like pretty fucking racist, but it's 1969 Japan animation, so unfortunately that's kind of what you get. The most interesting thing about it though is like it's weird to see. It's one of those things you watch and you're like, oh, there's a bunch of shit that took inspiration from this, and the biggest was Berserk.
Wow.
And like I've never seen like the dude as Berserk mention it in interviews or anything, but there's some scenes in it that are like shot or like pretty much exactly like there's a big famous scene in Berserk, and it's after the eclipse where Guts is basically on a hill fighting a bunch of ghosts, and it's like, oh my god, my life is fucking ruined and everything is terrible. That exact scene is in The Little Norse Prince, and it was nearly kind of surreal to see it so many years before. And then there's like a bunch of shots where he's like holding the big giant sword, and he's this little boy holding a massive sword, and it's like the exact same like ratio as Guts and his sword. And so I enjoyed it for that. There's a fun bit where a giant pushes an elephant off a cliff. That was fun.
Fuck those elephants.
Fuck them. But yeah, it's what you would expect from the cover of that DVD, but like it does have some fun bits, and like some of the action scenes are actually like really well done. Little Horus, he's got this like axe, but it's like the head of an axe, but with a string tied to it. So he like fucks it at people and then pulls it back.
Like a cup and ball.
Like a cup and ball. Yeah, it was fun. Niamh, you watched The Empty Man.
The Empty Man.
The Empty Man.
Did anyone? Did you guys watch this?
I have it queued up, but I haven't watched it.
I have watched the first hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's a long movie.
It's like 2.5 hours, isn't it?
Yeah, 2 hours and 20 minutes. So this is like there's a bit of a story to this one. So it came out in October of last year, released to cinemas, and no one went to see it. Obviously, there's a pandemic, and it was kind of just let out to die by Disney. It was originally a 20th Century Fox funded project that Disney did not like. So they were like, just send it out to die. And they tried to re-edit it a few times, and they didn't like the other edit. I know all of this because Chris Stuckman, YouTube reviewer dude, who's been doing it for years. I watch him a lot, but he's been really championing this movie as like, oh, it's a new cult classic. This movie was sent out to die. It's from a first-time director that shadowed, help me out here, David Fincher.
Okay.
Yeah, shadowed David Fincher by doing...
Do you work on Mindhunter and stuff?
No, he did like behind-the-scenes stuff for his movies.
Oh, cool.
So it had a huge budget and had a load of like belief behind it from 20th Century Fox, but then Disney hated it and sent it out to die. I don't know if this is a cult classic. It's like a lot of different movies shoved together in a way that makes it really interesting to watch. Like, there's a lot of cool visuals, and it's like, I haven't seen much like it before. And I know this is going to be kind of reductionist to name things it reminds me of, but I kind of want to say all the things it reminds me of so people will get an idea of how much this touches, if you get my idea. So like The Ring was the big thing. It stood out in my mind, and this is like the American Ring. Aphex Twin videos, Apostle, Twilight.
Hell yeah.
There are some scenes are so blue.
It's so blue. Just like kind of new metal videos from the 2000s. H.R. Geiger, The Descent. Just, you could name a whole pile of things, and all of them are in there.
So it's like a Pinterest board of all these things.
Yeah, like it's a Pinterest board of all these cool ideas, and these cool ideas look cool. Like the H.R. Geiger looking monster, you look at that and you're like,
fucking incredible.
that is a cool shot.
It's like this big fucked up skeleton, and then they get closer to it and they realize like the skeleton, like it's not even human sized, it's like much bigger than a human, and that always scares me. Like,
and its fingers, it had like just a lot of them,
and just a lot of arms go. It was
oh dear
cool. It's pretty cool. It has a 20-minute prologue.
Yeah, it has a short film at the start,
which is unusual, but I really enjoyed it. Like, it is a short film. Like, if I saw that as a short film on its own, I would be like, that's a good short film, and I am reasonably happy with that experience.
At the end of that bit, you're like, oh, this is the movie. Like, this is where we are for the rest of the film.
But no, there's a flash forward in time, and kind of like The Ring, it involves a detective who is doing a favor for someone else because a teenager, has gone missing. And kind of like The Ring, it is now a detective investigating something that's really in the realms of teenage world. So like, it's basically a creepypasta. There's this kind of urban myth of the empty man, where you get on a bridge and you blow into a bottle and you say the empty man a few times, and in 3 days, because he's just way more efficient than Samara, he will come and kill you.
He's got a system and like a Trello board. Yeah.
I think I saw a poster and it was like the first night you hear him, the second night you see him, then the third night he comes for you.
Yeah. So you're kind of going down this Ring way where it's like in The Ring, he does the same thing the kids does and now realizes, I'm in just as much trouble as these kids who have played around with this thing. So now it's a race against the clock to kind of figure out what the hell is happening. And this just goes crazy places, like kind of cults, hospitals, like major locations. There's so much money sunk into this and just so much weird imagery just shoved into it. And like, it's really cool. But for me, halfway through, it just completely fell apart. Like, everything started falling in on top of itself. And it's just like, you've got so many ingredients here. This is going to have to be come to a kind of satisfying end. And for me, it just didn't. It just kind of petered out. And it's one of these ones where it's kind of, I guess, meant to, where it kind of leaves you with what your interpretation of it was, which I didn't really like, because from the start it has such a very strong mystery, and then it just fans out into this wider thing that never came together for me.
So it introduces a bunch of ideas and never answers anything.
Yeah. And I can see people liking it for that reason as well, that it's really kind of obtuse by the end. But like, it was so obtuse that I couldn't even guess what a theme is, you know? It's like I couldn't even guess what was being communicated to me.
Like I'm only like an hour and 10 in, and so it could change a lot. But for me, it's kind of like, I was like, okay, we're going on a ride. What's at the heart of this? Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, I don't think it gets to that heart. And like, for that ride, it's like you're kind of building up this roller coaster, and before you get to go down at the end, you've kind of stopped at the top. So it's just like, wow, it could be anything.
Yeah.
And I just felt like with all that momentum behind it, I wanted it to go into a ring way where it's just like, you know, you beat the bad guy kind of thing. But it's like, it's broader than that, and it gets into tulpas and just...
Yeah, that's about where I left off, and I was like, what the fuck?
And just kind of, you know, like tulpas from internet stuff, and just kind of the idea of like kind of segmenting your mind into different characters, and that's kind of played into a different thing in this. So it's very internet-y as well, in terms of like, it's a creepypasta as well. It doesn't go anywhere for me, but the journey was interesting and the visuals were cool. And my favorite thing that happens in horror is when someone sees something fucking weird, and instead of just like being super cool and running past it, or just like freaking out, they're just like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck was that? And I really, really like that. And there's a really good what the fuck was that moment in this movie that made me laugh a lot. And some really strong visuals, because like, even though I didn't like it, I've been thinking about it. The bits I did like really are burned into my mind, but it just did not stick the landing.
There's a really lovely piece of visual horror near the start that I really, really liked, and it's when someone there's a bunch of people hiking, and one of them falls into like a crevasse, and like he disappears into it, like it's dark, you can't see him, and then a guy goes down after him, and they kind of pull the camera back in the way, revealing that where the guy was, he isn't there anymore, and the camera is being pulled back down deeper into the crevasse, and was this really just creepy moment of being like, oh fuck, like where did he go and what's happening? And I thought little bits like that really nailed some good moments of horror. I did not like the rest of this movie, or at least the parts I've seen. I completely agree with Niamh about it feeling like a kind of Pinterest board of horror. I felt it really felt to me like stapled together from other horror movies, and like just bits like it gets so kind of tropey. Like there's a bit where, like, you know, a girl's missing, and then on her mirror in blood is "the empty man made me do it," and I was just like,
oh shit, the empty man.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And just a lot of little bits like that. And I don't know, like, should I finish this, Niamh?
I think it's worth finishing just because the ending is so weird. Like,
I'd be up for it getting weird, because I think for me right now, I'm kind of like, let's just fucking do something, guy. And like, there's parts I like. I like the creepy cult shit. Like, that was all relatively well done. There's some like kind of good spooky visuals of like a bunch of people like sitting down and meditating in the middle of the street, and like, yeah, but do you think maybe like it's part of it that people have kind of fallen in love with the narrative of the production of this movie?
I absolutely think it, because yeah, like if you listen to Chris Stuckman's video, it's a lot of like love for the idea of this being a first-time director kind of making their vision and being allowed the budget to really make that happen.
So much potential.
And maybe not making the most perfect movie, but kind of giving your all to this idea. And this is based on a comic book, but not really at all. I read the first comic. It's a Boom Studios comic, and I was just like, this has nothing to do with this at all. So I think there's a bit of a romanticism about the kind of first-time director whose movie was killed by Disney kind of thing.
Yeah, I get that, but then like you have films like Relic as well, and that was a first-time director as well, right?
Yeah.
And like Relic for me just fucking killed it beginning to end. Like I love that movie, And for this, like, a way to, like, I would describe it as kind of like a way to kill 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
Some of the visuals are strong. Like,
and
they really
it's
are.
Consistently really well directed as well.
Yeah.
Like, just...
And I really like the prologue. It's really good. Like, I think it's worth people check out. I just think there's a little... It's kind of funny because even when you read the wiki now, they kind of talk about its development. And then at the end, it has become a cult classic. Like, and it's just everyone keeps saying it's a cult classic. It's going to become a cult classic. And I think the movie kind of has to do that on its own instead of kind of people hailing it that way.
There's a pretty big line between Twitter sensation and cult classic.
Exactly.
I do not see people talking about this movie in a year or two.
No. I think Apostle is kind of... Go watch Apostle. That should be a cult classic.
What was Apostle again? I think I've seen that.
That's the folk horror...
It's the Welsh one. It's from Gareth Edwards. I think it's the same. The guy who directed the Raid movies. It's a horror movie he made. It's on Netflix. I don't think
I've
forever.
Seen it. I'll check that out.
It's a fun one.
Weird little movie. I have also been reading Vagabond, the manga epic.
Oh, cool.
It's about samurai?
Yes, it's about the semi-fictional character Miyamoto Musashi.
Yes.
And the samurai, the sword man. This is by a very famous author in Japan who did Slam Dunk, which is one of those series that's like fucking gigantic in Japan and a little popular elsewhere. But
I've read it.
I think Slam Dunk has been like, it's loads and loads of awards. I think it was at one point like voted the best manga of all time or whatever. It's like Yankee shit, is it? And basketball.
It's a Yankee schoolboy who wants to impress his crush, so he starts playing basketball and then he gets really into basketball and is really good at it.
Yeah.
It's very good. This author and mangaka loves basketball. His other manga is called Real, which is about wheelchair basketball. It's really good.
Did Real come before or after Vagabond?
I think both Slam Dunk and Real are before Vagabond. Slam Dunk is over and Real is like Vagabond where it's not finished, but I don't think it's ongoing.
Yeah. Okay, Vagabond's really interesting. It's about, legendary sword master Miyamoto Musashi. You meet him as basically like a teenager. I think he's like 15 or 16. He lives in the outskirts of his village. He's like a wild mountain boy and sometimes plays with some of the village children, and the village disapproves of him. And it's basically from him there becoming the greatest swordsman of all time. And it's interesting because it's like a lot of it for him is like, and I know this is fucking bullshit John shit, but it's like a lot of it is like about fighting, but particularly like what a fight is and what victory is to him. And a lot of like the really interesting philosophy of that, because like one of the guy's biggest strengths is he's just a piece of shit. Like there's a bunch of fights where like at the start of the fight he'll like throw his sword at you and then run over and punch you in the face and then just punch you on the ground when you're knocked out.
He fights dirty with no honor.
He'll be like, I did it, I won, I'm the greatest swordsman,
Yeah.
And it's about him kind of like realizing, is that actually a valid way to fight? Because like if it's a real fight, it's about survival. Like it's not about, like, you can have all the honor in the world, but if someone stabs you in the back, that doesn't matter at all. And he's not interested in that. But then it's kind of also about him kind of like learning how to fight properly and like how to fight with actual training. Because like, pretty early on he comes up against people with actual training and they just beat the shit out of him. And it's really interesting because like the first time he really gets his ass whooped, he runs away. And it's like appalling and everyone's like, what the fuck? But it's interesting because in his mind, that's pulling the fight back to a draw because he survived, It's slowly about him, like, learning how he wants to fight and who he is, but also doing that with a lot of the supplementary kind of side characters around him. And I know a lot of what I'm saying is, like, very shonen. It really doesn't feel shonen.
It's probably, like, how it's drawn is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, there's a real reverence for just movement.
Absolutely. And, like...
And it's got, like, a loose ink and brush style sometimes with the fights.
Like, yeah, so when sometimes, like, when two people clash and one that's like a lot of tension in one. He'll do it all in like rough ink to like illustrate that moment of impact, and like it's beautiful. But it's like, it's interesting because like there's a very like considered feeling to a lot of the drawings. Like he's really thought about how to convey weight or movement or whatever. And it's like that same consideration is in a lot of these characters as well, because a lot of them are really simple, but he's thought about every aspect of them. Like they don't have like goofy gimmicks, and they don't, you know, some of them have tragic backstories, some of them don't, but either way, by the end of a fight, you kind of understand how and why they fight the way they fight, and how that manifests itself in like their personal lives. And you know, like there's a saying in martial arts where like, you know, when you really fight someone, when you really go at it with someone, you will kind of understand them in a way that, you know, even their closest friends won't. And I think this really gets across that idea, because there is some really beautiful scenes where it's like, you know, there's a big fight between Masashi and some guy, and Masashi just wants to be strong because it's his only way of survival. That's all he's known his entire life. And the other guy is like this technically proficient genius. And the other guy, he fights because basically when he was younger, both his parents were killed in this like really horrible assault, and he was taken in by a master, and basically the only thing he could do to put distance between himself and that assault was learn to fight, and he got amazing at it. But when those two people fight, you see how those different philosophies like affect the way they act, and which one has more resolve. And it was kind of beautiful, honestly. Like I was pretty taken aback with it, and that's been kind of consistently my feeling with it as I go on. It's also really interesting as well, because this manga is kind of famous for getting more and more beautiful as it goes on. I've already started, I'm about 70 chapters in. I think it's about 350 chapters, something like that. And I'm really starting to see that already, but in a way that nearly makes me anxious, because it's like, oh, this is not maintainable. And like very famously, like the author of this, he just had to stop. Like he could not keep doing it. Is he,
because it's more like an illustration than sequential images at time?
It is. And sometimes I say that as nearly a criticism, because I don't feel like it has, like, I'd say that sometimes about comics that I don't feel have a lot of movement or gesture in them. But with this, like, it absolutely has that. You could take this shitty side panel and hang it on your wall, but there's also movement in it. Like, it's one of the most technically beautiful manga I've ever seen. But there's something, it's something kind of sad about it as well, because it's like this piece of art really consumed this man. And I think that's interesting, because all the characters in it are obsessed with kind of mastering their own style as well, and it has occupied my thoughts a lot. It's as good as everyone says it is. It's really great, and I'm really looking forward to reading more. I don't know if you'd like it, Brian. I think there's a pretty decent chance you'd be into it, Niamh. There's
I've read a bunch of it.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, the art books.
No way.
It's Water and Sumi. Like, one is a watercolor one and the other is the ink one. He's just a master illustrator. Yeah. Like, just silence is something he can capture, and blades of grass and nature. He's just like, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, like half a chapter can roll by and he'll just paint up atmosphere. Like that's all he's gonna do. Like, there's one chapter and it's literally one samurai stepping towards another for the entire chapter.
That's all you need.
And it's captivating. Like, it's brilliant. Brian.
Yes.
You watch Safe.
Safe. This is a 1995 social horror movie. Niamh, do you know this film?
No. When I saw Safe Down, I thought this was like the Michael Shannon TV show that was like, and I was just like, why are you watching this?
Okay.
This makes way more sense.
This is a 1995 film directed by Todd Haynes, who directed Carol. Carol is a very good Christmas movie about lesbians. Todd Haynes has made several films that are about outsiders looking in at the social norms and not being comfortable with who they're being told to be. That's a big... Am I right?
Right. What's Safe about?
Safe, okay. It stars Julianne Moore, and it's one of her first movies.
You're blowing my mind here.
Niamh is
Yeah,
like,
Niamh, I can't believe I haven't seen this movie.
Yeah,
for
Julianne
Niamh is
Moore.
like I don't know what the word is. Gyrating this entire conversation.
So she got pretty big in the mid 90s. Around late 95, she starred in a Hugh Grant movie called 9 Months, I think. And then by 97, she was in Jurassic Park Lost World and Boogie Nights. And then by 99, she was in Magnolia. And she was like, an A-list actor. But she kind of started late. I think she got famous in her mid 30s, which for a lot of Hollywood actresses, you get famous in your early 20s.
Yeah.
And then by your mid 30s, you're gone.
Yeah.
But Julianne Moore inverted it, and she got super successful. And she's still going. Like, she's one of my favorite actresses. So in this film, she plays. It takes place in 1987 in San Fernando, California, and it's about a very timid housewife, and she kind of has her life made for her. She has a husband that goes out and does all the work, and all she has to do is decorate the house, and there's very little going on in her life, but she starts developing an illness, and she can't figure out what's wrong with her, but her immune system just collapses. As the film kind of goes on, she seems to kind of enjoy being sick because she gets to be a bit more unique, and she gets new attention on her, and she gets to be busy and active. And so
This is making me uncomfortable.
it's a very, very uncomfortable movie, and it's a real slow burn, and it's one of those movies where like it's all about the subtext. Film's directed by a gay man, takes place in the late 80s, could be about something there. It takes place in San Fernando, which is the porn empire of America. There's stuff there, like there's different things you can pull, and it is about like a woman with an illness that cannot be diagnosed, and doctors are telling her there's nothing wrong with her, and she's saying there is something wrong with me. You're not taking me seriously, and she joins a smaller community of people that have similar illness to her, and it's there she finds solidarity with others.
Brian, this sounds fucking crazy and great. I'm gonna go and watch this.
I think you'll both enjoy it, and the film is very open-ended, but that's kind of the point of it. But it definitely deals with a lot of like it is subtext the movie, and you can go, okay, that's this, that's that, or you can ignore other stuff and go, okay, it's a film about this. But it's just a decline of a person who is relishing in their misery, but that's what's like pushing them forward. And so it's this thing where the solution is also the problem. And they really, really make a point of showing like the normo suburbia kind of for the first like 45 minutes of the movie, and how like sterile it is. But Julianne Moore's character...
Explain this image to me, Brian.
Okay, so the poster of this movie has a very upsetting looking human. That is someone who's in the community for people who are who have immune problems, and this person likes.
Can we get them in the thumbnail?
Oh yeah,
absolutely. And so that's a person who likes to cover themselves head to toe, and they walk sideways because I think they're too scared to walk forward. Like they're just very like, and like it's cool the way Julianne Moore plays the character, because like now I kind of remember her for kind of being like very dominant in her roles, and she's very good at playing a person who's like emotionally furious. But in this, she kind of plays like a Desperate Housewives kind of character. There's bits of like Brie Vanderkamp exists because of this character.
Amazing.
And she's so soft-spoken, and she's so frightened in this movie, and she's really worried about saying the wrong thing. But then when she kind of gets to kind of complain about her illness and people, you know, give her attention for it, then she kind of leans into it.
Oh, that's really like sad.
Yeah, but it's a real good time.
Bryan, what's like the tone of this movie? Or is this like a little lighthearted? Because like
this film is not lighthearted.
Okay.
Because it's like it could be a dark comedy.
I could see this as so many different things.
There are moments where you don't know what to do, so you laugh, but it's not a comedy. But it feels like an American independent movie, but the way it's shot and edited, it's aged really well. Like it kind of feels a bit like a Cronenberg movie in places. Like it's semi-sci-fi, or it's like, it's not sci-fi, but it's like fictional science, the other way around it, where like there's nothing unbelievable happening in this movie, but it's a bit of a ridiculous situation that that makes complete sense.
Cool.
Wow.
And the makeup in this is very good. Julianne Moore plays a sick person very well, and by the end of it, you are just like, she does not look healthy, but she is delighted.
Wow, okay. Brian, that's quite a pitch.
It's a real special time.
Guys, I watched a whole bunch of Bojack Horseman. I watched the first season of this like 4 years ago. Like, that show's older than you'd think now.
Yeah, the show came out like 2013, 2014.
Yeah,
What,
it's nuts,
really?
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And I thought it was fine. It was a funny show about a dysfunctional horse, and then I put it down, and then I did not watch it till now. And I would say maybe twice a year since then, a guy on Twitter, and I don't know how he's messaging me because I don't follow him, has been asking me to watch it. And he's always very nice, and he's always very respectful. And I'm like, yeah, we'll see. And the pandemic is here. And so I decided to get back in there. That show is a journey. It is a very different show than I think I thought it was. And I feel like what's so weird about it is like, it is a comedy. Like, it's definitely, it's one of those animated kind of, not sitcoms, but like animated shows for adults. But there's a real there's a real grit to the characters in it, because they're all so flawed and broken, and they don't get better. And there's so many scenes in it where you're sitting there watching them just do these completely self-destructive acts, and it's going to go bad, but they're likable, so you want them to do well. And it's not a moral ambiguity thing. There's no ambiguity to it, because the things these people are doing is bad. And the show really calls them on that in a lot of very, very interesting ways. And I don't just mean like Bojack. It's like there's a kind of central cast of about 5 characters, and they all have like their own really, really interesting stories. Like Diane, one of the characters, is like, she starts as a writer writing like a ghostwriting the autobiography of Bojack, and then like it goes into kind of her life and her just deeply unfulfilling marriage, and like how her and her husband, they're like cute together, but they're never right for each other. And the show takes like 4 seasons in just slowly peeling that back. When it does blow up, when it does go wrong, it's so simple, but it's just so sad. And it was such a there were so many moments in it where you kind of feel like you've been there, it's stuff like this, and you just realize like, oh wow, these people really do want to be together, and they do love each other, but it's so not going to work, and it was never going to. And I feel like with a lot of stuff like that, like the show has a fair number of female writers, and like to me, a lot of the writing of the women characters really read as a lot more authentic because of that. There's an episode about getting an abortion. There's, one of the central characters, Princess Caroline, who might be my favorite character, is a basically 40-year-old Hollywood executive, like still like kind of.
I need to ask what animals they are.
Princess Caroline is a pink cat.
Okay, and Diane is
a human woman.
But she's married to a golden retriever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Called what? Mr.
Peanut Butter.
Mr. Peanut Butter.
And I really hated Mr. Peanut Butter at first, but boy, he kind of grows on you. But they're all awful, but you love them as well, because like you really see them trying, and I think it's really incredible when a show is able to capture that, like a person trying to be better, but like really failing in like the most authentic ways. And like Bojack himself, he's voiced by Will Arnett, who, like, the entire voice cast is fucking brilliant. Like, I think Alison Brie is Diane, and she's incredible. I don't know who Princess Caroline is, but Michelle does. So
she's voiced by Amy Sedaris.
yeah,
Oh, yay.
and she's fucking amazing. Like, she's so good. I feel like I could go on about any of these characters for a long, long time, but with Bojack particularly, it's just like he does terrible things, but I feel like with a lot of kind of, morally ambiguous male characters, it's kind of like, well, he did the bad thing, but for a good reason. With Bojack, he does the bad thing for a shitty reason, then he holds on to it and is torn up about it for an entire season, and then another character will call him on it in like really just raw emotional exchanges. And the show, it takes time to get you there, like I wasn't in until maybe the end of the second season. Up until then it was just something I drew to. But when it starts really letting you have it, oh my god, some of the episodes, like particularly around Bojack's mother, they go into like her past and the kind of environment, because she's just this really cruel old woman. And like in one episode, they so succinctly take you from like her being a child and bring you all the way through her life and all the fucking awful shit that she had to endure, that women had to endure in like the 50s and 60s and even now. And just brings you to where you understand her, even though she's so awful. And it's an incredible show. I think it's an amazing piece of television. There's stuff I sometimes don't like about it. Sometimes the humor gets too silly for me. It can be very funny. Some of the humor just isn't for me. There's some like there's some kind of stuff where it's like, this person doesn't know that this person's in the apartment and they're gonna have to try and sneak around and blah blah blah. And like that'll go on for like half an episode and I'll get kind of bored. And then in the last 5 minutes of the episode, something like devastating will happen and it gets super real out of nowhere. And I think the show really keeps you off balance like that. It's just a really fantastic show. I have like 10 episodes left and I'm really sad it's going to be over, but I think I'm going to start again when it is, because I think I just need to be here for a little while. I'd really recommend people give it a shot. I think if you're not feeling it for the first season, I don't know, like I hate telling people to watch more than they should if they're not, but this show really ended up meaning a lot to me, and I think is one of my favorite TV shows I've seen in like the longest time. And like a lot of that's personal. Like there is shit. I think this is the kind of show as well, if there isn't stuff here to personally resonate with you, I can't guarantee you're gonna have the reaction to it I do, but there's really points in this show that made me reflect on like how I treat people and kind of stuff like that. And it's very rare that I think a piece of media can genuinely make me do that, and it was great. That's Bojack Horseman.
So it's good?
6 out of 10. Nice try.
Solid effort.
Have either of you watched Undone? It's the other show this guy has done with Rosa Salazar.
Is that the one with the birds?
No, that's Toucan Birdie.
It's
Undone's the one with Bob Odenkirk as well.
Yeah, it's the oil painting kind of...
No, you told me about it though, and it sounded really good.
It's super good.
It's like semi-rotoscoped.
Yeah.
It's beautiful looking.
Yeah. There's some very good stuff happening there. Do you know where there's also some very good stuff happening? In our strategy talk.
Games, they're good, and that's all we have to say. Quicktime Events.
6 out of 10.
It's 6 out of 10. 5 out of 10. 7 out of 10. Out of 10.
Oh, you know what? Firewatch, 4 out of 10. Drag the whole average down.
Firewatch, 1 out of 10.
Yeah, 2 out of 10.
Yeah.
No, 1. You're right.
Yeah, 1.
You're right, Brian.
So let's just give a reminder, because I know we gave a reminder about Mario Odyssey.
Is this our yearly reminder that we don't like Firewatch?
Okay, guys, if you're unfamiliar with the Let's Fight a Boss lore, none of us like Firewatch, and it's not the case that like we weren't into it. We just think it's like a really shitty game, and John, it's shit.
It really is.
And like I like it being a punching bag.
Like, I don't think it's shitty. I just didn't enjoy my time with it.
Such a doofy game that people love. It sucks.
It looks nice.
It does. It's such a waste of potential.
Yeah.
Fuck
Again,
that
though,
game.
just to remind people, if you read the Let's Fight a Boss guide, you are very clearly instructed that if you want to start listening to this podcast, day 1, you listen to episode 1. Day 2, you listen to episode 2. Day 3. So if you don't know this stuff, that's on you.
Yep. And if you don't listen to the episodes that we lost to time,
Listen,
That's your problem,
Listen,
not mine.
yeah.
I don't have the fucking time or energy to go into our listeners' lives and figure out every little thing, okay? Listen to the first game of the year we ever did. How? I don't know. That's your problem.
Climb that mountain by yourself.
Yeah. Jesus.
What do you want us to do? Make a podcast? I'm not going to do that. I hate podcasts.
Why are we so angry at our listeners? They're so good to us.
You know, you gotta nag them.
Yeah, you do. Just a little bit.
Keep them on their toes.
Okay, fucking video games. Let's see what we fucking got here. Guys, I played... Actually, no. Niamh, tell us about Mundaun. Do you not want to go? Do you want someone else to
No,
go?
I can talk about Mundaun. I just wish
Oh, games. Ew.
this is just another like one of these like cult classic folk horror that everyone's really high on, and I'm gonna come in and give it a 6 out of 10.
You know the worst part about that? When you think something's okay and you're like, there's things I appreciate about this, but by that point everyone's like, no, fuck you, 10 out of 10.
Like, and there is stuff I appreciate about this.
No, fuck you.
I played this all in one go, so it held my attention, but I also forced my attention on it because I was like, I have played nothing for this podcast, so it's all gonna be Mundaun. So Mundaun is like a first-person, story-driven folk horror game, and it's kind of thing that stands out about it is that it is from Switzerland, and they are speaking, I think, an old language. I don't think it's...
Well, Switzerland speak mainly French and German.
Yeah.
I think this is some language that like 19% of the population speaks in Switzerland.
Yeah, like
Okay.
it's a really old language. So like that's
Some
kind of
mountain language.
what it hits you with from the get-go. And its aesthetic is of, uses a lot of texturing, and that texturing is hand-drawn pencil. So it's it's in black and white with kind of like...
It's like 2D or 3D or...
It's 3D. You're walking around a 3D environment solving
Does
puzzles.
the video look like Aha's Take on Me?
No.
Oh.
So
Not
that
this time,
video
Bryan.
is beautiful and amazing. This is like, it's very low poly geometry. Like
Okay.
very, very, very low poly, and there is pencil textures slapped onto the geometry.
Does that look nice?
Sometimes it looks beautiful and it does look like a pencil drawing. Sometimes like it is over tiled to the point that it looks a little messy and it's kind of hard to parse things out. Like you can see the aesthetic that I think the one guy is going for, and sometimes it just totally works and sometimes it really doesn't, and it's because the geometry is just really low poly, and it looks interesting. Like it's a very interesting aesthetic that I feel like is mostly there but not fully there. So the story is, you are a grandson, you are a young man who is going back to their small village, and seemingly Mundaun, and I'm probably pronouncing that totally wrong. It's a real village in the Alps, so it's in the mountains, and the real village only has 300 people living there. So it is small. And this game, like the real Mundaun, you are coming back to your hometown, home village that is tiny. There is like 4 people in the entire village, and one of them is your grandfather who died. And the priest writes you a letter asking you to come home to visit. The first thing you find when you enter your town is your grandfather embedded into a burnt down barn. So his body is just in it and his soul is trapped there, and it's up to you to cleanse the evil spirit that has trapped his soul in the burnt barn.
Okay.
And you may meet a host of characters, from the priest to a little mute girl who walks around with her goats, and a headless goat that talks to you from your inventory. So it has some cool shit to it, like
so
really cool
you're
stuff.
carrying a headless goat.
You're carrying a head of a goat
Okay.
to find its body for it.
Cool.
So like your character is very like polite, kind of
Very stoic.
not stoic, he's friendly. Like
Okay.
a line of dialogue would be, he would see the little girl with her goats and he would be like, "Girl, good goats you have," kind of thing. Like it is very,
I like him.
yeah, like it's very kind of like upbeat, polite, small town guy who is suddenly in a folk horror, and you have different things like it's kind of like its plus and its minus is it's very like just like something like Amnesia but like older, where you're spending a lot of time running around 3D environments, not having a fucking clue where to go and getting really frustrated because you have to find certain items that open a certain door, and then you have to go to this other place to get a different item.
Zigzag with a bunch of...
Yeah.
That is the kind of game that I just can't do them.
Zigzag fetch quest.
So bad.
Exactly. If you have bad like map skills, this game is not for you, because this game also locks areas off depending where you are, and it kind of sometimes I was like, am I really bad at getting my way around, or is the game kind of closing areas off to me? And it was kind of doing a bit of both. But it was one of those games where a lot of me figuring out things was, well, I guess I'll go back here and check this again to make sure I've got everything, and I think I can get up there. Am I like cheesing this by getting up on this geometry? Like, can I walk on this piece of mountain? Oh, I can. I guess I'm meant to go here. So you have this whole village to explore that's opened up to you in different sections, but it's a lot of getting lost. But you find cool things, and it did reward me in a thing I do all the time, which is I go over to paintings and mirrors and I look at them in every single game, and very rarely does anything happen. In this game, the camera gets sucked into the image and you start to hear noises that are associated with the painting. So it'll be someone walking on a snowy mountaintop, and you'll start to hear the snow and wind howl, and the camera will get more and sucked into it more and more. And I thought that was like a cool little detail, because the paintings come into it narratively through an artist character who's painting evil paintings.
Shit. What's the most evil painting you guys have ever done? Because one time I did like a dog, but it was like holding a gun.
I photoshopped a couple of images of your face, John, that have kind of...
Oh yeah, a couple.
Yeah.
You made fucking like short films about my face.
And you gave me some good material the other day.
I knew it would make you happy, and I know you had a tough time.
Anyway, I'm going to do some cursed images for you.
Niamh.
Okay, back to Mundaun.
No, what's the evilest thing you've ever painted?
I don't know. It was probably something like probably me with a gun.
Whoa! I love the idea of like 12-year-old Niamh painting herself and being like, something's missing, and then like painting in a little gun and being like, yeah. Sorry, Niamh, go on.
No, yeah, go on.
Just 5 hours long. Probably took me around 6 because I got lost a bunch. When it hits well, and the music, like the sound design is brilliant. Like I wore headphones and it leads you around by sound, and it looks good when it looks good, and it doesn't when it doesn't. There's a lot of good ideas here, and I feel like the second game this person makes is gonna be cool. You know? So
would this be the kind of thing, sometimes I play games like this and I'm like, wow, this would have been mind-blowing like 5 years ago.
Kind of. Yeah. Like, you know Sagebrush?
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that.
Did you play that?
Yeah. Like, you're moving around different locations trying to...
This is exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, but this is, because of its trappings of being in Switzerland and with the language and just kind of the folk horror stuff, it's kind of infinitely more interesting than Sagebrush, but it still has the very same kind of mechanics in going around the world.
That was kind of the downfall of Sagebrush for me. Like, I thought I liked how it looked, thought it was beautiful, but like, just I think there's better games that do that.
Like, there's 3 meters you have. Like, you have a sanity meter because there's straw men who chase you, but like, they're just a nuisance. I hated them.
It really bothers me when horror mechanics become annoying. Like, that is when I will completely disconnect from a horror game, when it just kind of turns into you measuring different things in the moment, just being like, yeah, okay, I think I have enough meter to get over here.
The meters, I don't even think, they don't even come into it. Like, I'm like, you have to make coffee to raise your sanity meter kind of thing. So you have to like gather wood, gather coffee, get a pot, fill it with water, make your coffee, drink it, and you get a permanent boost. But I could never understand how it was protecting me more than when I had a lower sanity meter.
I think coffee makes me crazier.
Yeah, it was a weird one to use specifically. And you had a hunger meter that I just think made you a bigger boy, so maybe you could just take more hits. But I hated those. The enemies in this
hunger meter that makes you a bigger boy?
Yeah.
you get bigger if you eat more food,
You
John.
eat more food and your hunger goes up, and the little drawing is of you skinny and then of you bigger. So I think the bigger you get, the more hits you can take is all I could imagine it would be, because I took one hit and ran away. So, like, I wasn't going to wait and find out.
Can I talk about weird body stuff?
Yeah, and then I'm going to talk about my
Yeah,
body.
keep
Okay.
going.
So I've been like on a like little weight loss kick the last while, and I lost quite a bit of weight. I lost like 28 pounds, and that's about 2 stone if you live in the UK or Ireland. And what I didn't realize is how much weaker you get, and I am outraged because I think that knowledge should be surfaced more properly. And so I was going to be like, okay, it's okay, I'll just get it all back by doing weights. But my stupid little crap body can't handle the weights my old big strong body could handle, and so I ended up injuring my arm and I had to go to physiotherapy. And he's like, "Oh, you really fucked this up. You're not going to be able to do weights for like another 6 weeks." And now I'm just going to keep fucking shrinking into this pathetic little nothing body, and I didn't know this could happen.
Little weenie. I had too much for dinner, and I'm a big boy, and I could take about 10 hits.
I think I'm like 3.
Oh, how about you, Niamh?
How many hits could I take?
Yeah.
No one would hit me. I've been training
Because
for speed.
you dump everything into Dex.
Yeah.
Because you've a gun.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's never in a fight. It's always just a turd.
With a bullet.
So that's the checkup on all our bodies that everyone needs.
Still have them.
Yep.
We have human forms, and they're doing what they're doing it. They're grinding into a very sad halt.
Yeah, I know. You get over 30. Now my knee clicks. And I'm like, why? What's happening? Why are you doing this? It just does it. It just clicks.
Do you guys want to just end the podcast? I'm kind of sad now.
I want to take a nap.
Oh, Mundaun?
Mundaun.
Mundaun.
It's okay. I spent $16.99 on it, and I think that's a bit much.
That's
Would have
a lot.
preferred to spend $9.99 on it, but people really like this game, and the goat was fun. It does talk to you.
Cool.
Did you
have like a sassy attitude or anything?
No, they're Swedish.
Brian,
Not Swedish.
what would your like?
Swiss?
What's
Swiss.
your audition for like a sassy goat voice go?
Mary, you got any hay for this fella right here?
Let's keep going. Let's just keep it going.
Okay. You want to see a cool skateboard trick?
No, I need help to save my grandfather.
Hook your grandpa. I'm gonna kickflip over his corpse.
Your grandfather sounds like a fucking narc.
I'm way cooler than your grandpa.
You were my grandfather's only friend.
And he sucked. What a loser.
And that's Mundaun.
Patreon.com/LFAB. Guys, I played Loop Hero. This has been another kind of online sensation, this game. This is a fucking weird game, so I'm going to describe it conceptually and then mechanically, because it really... I've heard this game described a bunch and it never really made sense to me until I played it. This game is about the world has ended in that there's nothing there anymore. There's just complete darkness. And the only way for something to exist is for you to remember it. And what's special about your character is you're the only person in existence who doesn't need to be remembered by another person to exist. So everyone else has to stay together in these big communities where they're all looking at each other all the time. Because if someone isn't in someone's thoughts for even a second, they stop existing. Really super cool concept. And so specifically with your character, you'll be like, okay, I think there used to be mountains over there, and mountains will appear. Or I think there used to be a village here, and a village will appear. And that is like what is happening in this world. And it's really kind of bleak and grim, but in a kind of fun way. Like, everyone knows how bad this situation is, and they kind of play with it a little bit. And like the writing's kind of cute. Like, you get these little interactions with monsters where they talk about their experiences of not existing anymore. And like, you know, monsters... If you want to bring the world back to the way it used to be, you have to include monsters in that. But the way they remember the world is very different to how you remember the world. And there's a lot of really, really interesting like dialogue and story stuff with that, to the point that like I really wish that they explored it more, because it's really like to the side of the mechanics of the game.
From what I heard about the story is that it was kind of tacked on, that like the main artist was kind of like, because they originally had done this as a
game jam or something.
A game jam, and then when we're making it into a full game, they were like, let's add a story.
Yeah, I would totally believe that, because it's the kind of story that is so weird. It kind of only could have formed from the game mechanics, but like it's cool. Like I really like thinking about like this world and how it works and everything. And the actual game itself, super kind of lo-fi graphics, like, and very like pixely, and you're getting these really, I would say not amazing pixel art, not bad, just kind of nice and expressive, but against like this black background. And the way it works is you are basically on this loop, and you go around the loop, and there's all these little slimes on the loop. You fight the slimes, you have no control over your own movement, you are just a little guy on tracks. And then you fight the slimes, and you'll get one of two things. You'll get either equipment cards or environment cards. And equipment cards, you just equip them to, you know, your sword, your shield, your armor, whatever. But then you'll also get environment cards, which would be things like mountains and stuff. And when you take one of those cards, you can put it down on the grid. And that is you remembering something. That is you technically being like, oh, that's right, there was mountains over there. But then when you put the mountain down, that mountain will give you health. So it's like you put 5 mountains down, you'll get plus 25 health. But those environmental cards all like synergize together. So if you put like mountains and rocks down in a 9x9 grid, it'll form a mountain range, and you'll get a huge amount of like health and resources from that. And so you're doing things like, okay, you want to put down a vampire mansion. And the problem with the vampire mansion is now you have to fight vampires every time you walk by it on the loop. But they give you good loot as well. So that's kind of how you level yourself up. So you're constantly trying to measure how much resources you want and your own progression versus how many monsters you want. Because eventually a little bar up the top left is going to fill up, and you're going to fight the Lich King. And
hell yeah.
Yep, and he will just kick your butt if you're not able for him. Then you, at any point, you can retreat back to your village, where you take 60% of the stuff you've found. If you die, you only take 30%, and if you get all the way back to your village and complete a loop, you can retreat and retain 100%. Or you can do another loop and try and get more loot and stronger. Really, really interesting little game. I do not think I am in love with it in the way a lot of people are. Like, it's kind of the exact same thing we've been saying this entire podcast. I really like it. I think it's cool. I like playing it, but it's a really pleasant way to spend time. And like, I'm engaged when I'm playing it, but I also feel like I kind of know what it is now, and I'm kind of like, yep, it's cool. I'm probably not gonna like. I haven't even beat the first boss, and I think there's like 3 or 4, and I imagine they're pretty tough. But I really like it. It's very, very interesting. It's really, really unique. I love the version of this game that really pushes its story. Because I think in the same way, you know, like one of the reasons Hades was such a big hit is because its story and its gameplay was so intertwined. I think you could totally do something really, really interesting with this. And it's a small team, and I don't expect them to, but I think that's where my kind of fascination was with it. It's cool. I think people should check it out. It is a fun, cool game, and like you're not going to see a lot like it. And like, you know, especially in a kind of year where AAA games and the like are looking pretty sparse, I think it's kind of the time for stuff like this to shine.
Is this on PC only?
Yes.
Okay.
And that brings me into part 2. I have entered the world of proper PC gaming, and it's been a fucking nightmare. So,
really?
Oh my god,
Because no computer is the same. So you can't standardize stuff.
So I ordered a big beefy computer from Dell because I wanted to speed up like editing time, because it makes all the difference when you have a machine that can do exactly what you want it to do at exactly the speed you want. And so I ordered a Dell. I spent, you know, a couple of days like researching the kind of like different models and specs and stuff, and I've been with Dell my entire life, never had any trouble. Dell are weird now, because when you get past a certain threshold, they start it's kind of like flying with Ryanair. Nothing is included. So I ended up ordering a PC that has a regular hard drive in it, not an SSD.
Oh.
And I would have assumed that's SSDs are just standard now. Like, I understand if someone has like, you know, a 10 terabyte external hard drive, that makes sense. But like a hard drive for your boot drive. And so like I got it, and
like
my new
1 or 2 terabyte SSDs kind of.
Yeah, my PC is 7 years old and has an SSD in it.
My old PC has an SSD in it. And so I got it, and I was like, why is this booting up slower than my old computer? And then I was like, why is this doing everything like slower than my old computer? But it got worse, because I found out that what you also have to order a wireless Wi-Fi PCI card so it can connect to Wi-Fi, and the same with a Blu-ray PCI card. You have to actually manually tell them you want these things, which is fucking insane to me in 2021.
And is this like a parts picker thing where you go down and just pick the stuff you want?
And like, part of the blame's on me because I just assumed that shit would be in there, you know, and I didn't know what like PCIe WX card was. And so now I'm in like this nightmare field of trying to order the correct parts and trying to understand the difference between like NVMe drives and NVMe drives with M2 adapters and just regular SATA SSDs. And I have a pretty good idea that what'll work, but if I get this configuration, it could be slightly faster, and I'm in absolute fucking hell. So the long and the short of it is I currently have a €2,500 machine sitting below my computer that I play Loop Hero on.
Cool.
Yeah.
Real tech bro.
Real fucking worth it. And people are gonna be like, this is your fault because you're stupid. I fucking know. I know that, okay? That's what Dell technical support told me. I'm aware this is my fault. I get it. It's just not fair. This stuff should be standard. I'm so unhappy. And I spent 3 hours yesterday on technical support with Dell. 3 fucking hours, right? And the guy was like, oh, okay. See, this is customer care. You need technical support. And I was like, okay, cool. He's like, could you? And I was like, could you transfer me to technical support? And he's like, I can't actually transfer you, but if you phone them. And I was like, okay. Phone technical support. 20 minutes holding. Fucking get through to them. And they're like, you know what, sir, this is actually something we do better in our chat window online. And I was like, okay. So I went to the chat window, and they were like, oh, you know what you need? You need our out of warranty team.
But you just bought it.
And okay. There was a 2-week warranty on it, which you can return it, no issues, no questions asked. The problem is that my editing process was 2 weeks away. And so I started editing on it at 2 weeks, and I was like, this is shit. That's when I started to notice everything that was fucking wrong with it. Up until then, I was like, maybe it's just tired because it just woke up. I don't know. So then I get ping-ponged, literally, I'd say like 5 or 6 times. And like some of these are like hour plus wait, like being on hold and being in queues and stuff like that. And finally, I get to the final phone call, and the guy's like, okay, I want you to, this is also not the right place. Here's where you need to call. And he lists out the number, and I look at it, and it's the customer care number I started with at the beginning of the day. It was like a bad fucking sitcom. Like, you know that punchline at the end of a sitcom? It was that. And I got so fucking angry. And I was like just so annoyed because like this shit is like a drain on your sanity. And I had to be like, this is a complete joke. Like, your service has absolutely wasted my time. What's your name? And he was like, Amir. And I was like, Amir, none of this is at you personally. I'm just very upset. I know you're doing everything you can, and I appreciate that, but this is just insane. So yeah, Loop Hero's alright. 6 out of 10.
That sucks, John. I'm so sorry.
I'm so unhappy. And like, I feel like
with like IT stuff at home, the worst part is you don't know how long it's going to take. So you don't know if you're going to be dealing with like an 8-hour problem or a 1-hour problem, and you can't pace yourself
just,
mentally.
Like, it was so sad putting back in my old PC and being like, well, now I have to make a video on this piece of shit. And it sucked. And the worst part about it is it's nearly not my fault, but it's my fault. And that sucks. Bryan, tell us about Doshin the Giant.
Okay. Doshin the Giant is a cult classic.
Big on Twitter.
Yeah, and the reason why it's a cult classic is because it's 20 years later and you're allowed to say it's a cult classic. That's the way it works. You can't just say something recent is a cult classic or it's going to become a cult classic. You have to shut the fuck up and let it die and then let it resurrect itself as a cult classic. That's the fucking point.
It's true.
It should not have cult classic printed on the box.
No.
Fuck no, this game's a fucking joke.
Terrible game.
Okay, Doshin the Giant is a 2002 GameCube game that came out in Japan and Europe. It did not come out in America. Americans have recently discovered what this game is, and I'm getting recommended a lot of Doshin the Giant videos, and I'm like, yeah, Doshin the Giant, what's the big deal? And people are like, guys, this is like fucking amazing. And I'm like, yeah? Now, I played Doshin the Giant at a friend's house at a sleepover like 18 years ago. And we were like, this is fucking stupid. But that's the point of the game. Like, Doshin is a very casual game made way before mobile games existed.
Let me just picture this because I think I know the right image in my head. But Doshin is a giant orange man.
A big, tall, yellow man.
Okay. Niamh, I think you should look it up because you'll appreciate it.
Doshin's design is absolutely fantastic. Okay, this is a God Sim game similar to something like Bullfrog would have made on the computers back in the 90s. But instead of you... Niamh, I really, really want that person from Safe, and I'd like Doshin to be there as well. And they're both kind of going, woo!
Niamh, look up Evil Doshin.
Sorry. Jashin the Hate Giant. Sorry. Okay, there's Doshin the Love Giant, and if you press the left trigger, you take the form of Jashin the Hate Giant.
Oh, I didn't know that they're the same person.
Jashin the Hate.
Because you could play as a kind giant or a cruel, evil giant. This is absolutely a God Sim. So you're not moving a cursor. You're controlling a big fucking giant who's real awkward and clumsy, and sometimes you step on villagers, and it takes place on a Polynesian island.
This sounds like Black and White.
Yeah, it's very similar to like Black and White and a couple of other games like that, where you've got a little Polynesian island with a few villagers, and the aim of the game is that there's different color-coded villagers, and you have to make settlements with every possible version of the color codes. So there's 4 different tribes, so that's 16 possibilities for villages based on, red and green, blue and yellow, red, green and blue, or all 4 of them combined. The possibilities is 16. You have to make all 16 of these villages happen on the island, and each time one of the villages becomes successful, they build a monument to you, and once you have all 16 monuments, you can ascend.
Oh, good.
Where does he go?
Oh, there's a rocket. There's a rocket.
Okay.
This game doesn't fuck around. So the game is narrated as well by like a shaman who's doing like a David Attenborough voice, and he's like, the giant has awoken on the island. and he's like, and like the way the animation is, he's got like real short stubby legs and real long dangly arms, and he's like, woo! and he kind of flops around, and like he's real hard to steer, but like you have to be careful not to step on any villagers, but you also have to make villages by picking up people and going, okay, you and this person, you're going to start a settlement now, and they're like, we don't want it. And it's like, do it.
Fucking do it.
And sometimes they build a monument to you.
Don't make me get Josh in.
Okay, so sometimes they'll build a monument to you, but it's not good enough. That's when you take the form of Jashin and you trash the shit out of it. And sometimes 2 villages are built too close to each other. You gotta fucking destroy one of them. And also, like, Doshin, when he's in his, like, kind form, he moves so fucking slow. Like, the only hindrance to this game is the speed. Because, like, I played this game for an hour and I figured out every single mechanic of the game. And, like, it's a very simple game. The game doesn't have a HUD. Unless it needs a HUD, it'll kind of like scroll it in. But for the most part, it's a very like artsy game. Like I think this game would be like a PS4, like a PS Plus game 20 years later. And parts of it feel like a mobile game, and that like you could play this game for 10 minutes and get your fill of it because the feedback loop is so short.
Who made it?
I got it up here. Hang on.
Because this sounds too weird for them not to have done other weird things.
Okay, so this is co-developed with Nintendo by a Japanese studio called Param that closed down in 2003, a year after Doshin the Giant came out.
Oh no.
And they only made 2 games. A prototype Doshin the Giant for the Mega 64 DD, which was a disc drive add-on for the Nintendo 64 that only came out in Japan. And then their second attempt at it was Doshin the Giant for GameCube. And for some reason, it just never came out in America. And the only context I had for Doshin for years, I think a lot of people only had it for years, was that Doshin is a trophy in Smash Bros. Melee for a game that says Doshin the Giant and then in brackets unreleased.
Yeah. I was thinking the other day how, if you think about it, Fox McCloud is much more well known as a Smash Brothers character than he is as from Star Fox. Because he is so popular in Smash. Absolutely.
I'm playing a Star Fox game as well, but I'll talk about that next episode. I'm on a real 20-year-old game GameCube binge.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm playing Doshin. This game is deeply flawed, but immensely charming. And I don't know if I want to beat it because it's incredibly tedious to play at times. When you get to play as Jashin, it's a lot of fun, but it's hard to progress the game when you're Jashin because you're just destructing. But you can fly when you're Jashin because you've got like devil wings.
Rad.
And you just shoot lightning firebolts out of your hands. But like it is like a Bullfrog God sim game where like you are sculpting the land and you're rising like ground out of the water and making islands. And you'll get like tornadoes and wildfires and you have to like protect the villages. But really, as soon as they've built their shrine to you, that's like ticked off in the box, you can kind of leave them to it. So like the game has loads and loads of systems and numbers running in the background. It's actually quite sophisticated. And it does this thing where it runs on like these 30-minute day cycles. And at the end of the day, Doshin goes back into the water and the villagers say goodbye to him. But it has all these stats where it like tells you the amount of steps you've made and how many jumps you've done, how many times you've fallen, the amount of villagers that have appeared, how many villagers you've killed. Like it just has all these hidden numbers up on the screen. So the game has a lot going on. It's a very simple looking game, but it definitely had a lot of potential. And poor Doshin. I don't think Doshin's ever going to be in Smash.
Well, let's just see what Season 3 brings. Season 3? 2.
I don't think I do. It'd be cool if they did a Season 3 and it's just Doshin. And Sakurai's like, I just fucking love him.
What if there's only 2 characters and one of them's Doshin and the other's Jushin?
Jashin. I think he'd kind of work where you just press a button and you switch between the two.
I want the dragon from Ring Fit in Smash. He'd be fun.
Yeah.
Do you ever play Ring Fit anymore, Niamh?
No, my knee's clicking.
Oh, fair enough.
You brought it round. No, I just don't want to move.
That's okay.
Yeah, I understand that. I can't move.
Guys, new Monster Hunter game came out.
Monster Hunter Rise?
Sure has.
Monster Hunter Rise for the Switch. And I downloaded that demo and I was like, wow, you know what? I don't want to play this in 30 frames a second. And I went back to Monster Hunter World.
Which you could play on PS5.
Which I can play on PS5. And wow, the load times in that are so much better on PS5. And it's like, it is like a significant quality of life increase. Like, I like playing that game so much more now that I don't have to wait like a minute and a half or whatever fucking insanity it was for the mission to load before. I think I played it for like 6 hours, like in one sitting.
Nice.
I just got sucked into a weapon tree and it was like, oh, so like, okay, I fought the monster, don't remember his name. And then I was like, oh fuck, I can't beat this guy. I'm going to go fight Nergigante and get the Nergigante armor. But I've only beaten Nergigante once. Couldn't beat him consistently. It was just a fucking nightmare and he kept killing me. So I was like, okay, I got to go get the Toda Kadachi lightning hammer to kill Nergigante, to kill the other thing. And then I spent like 3 hours farming thunder sacks from Tobei Kadachi. I can't remember the exact name. And that was really fun, but also kind of miserable because thunder sacks only spawn like 18% of the time. And so I needed 3 and I fought this thing maybe like 6 or 7 times and I still only have 2. And it has kind of made me fall in love with Monster Hunter again because those fights with Nergigante, they felt so fucking amazing, and I'm like breaking its horns and like fighting its back to its nest, and like it's a real struggle, and like there's a really fun story to them, and I'm like, it's good. But the part where you have to kill the same monster over and over and over, I don't understand why that is there, and I don't understand why people think that's enjoyable.
It's a loop. It's a loop game.
But it's such long games, and I'm not even in end. Like, I'm in high rank, but I'm not in end game. You know what I mean? And like, I'd get it if they stretch the end part out, but I know they're still hiding a lot of content behind this stuff. But
people just inhale that content, though.
I know people. Like, we have friends who will just new Monster Hunter come out, and it's going to be like 5 hours a day and I get that. I guess it's for them, but I'm really enjoying it. Like, I go back and forth on Monster Hunter a lot. It took me, I would say, about an hour and a half to remember how that game worked and all the fucking weird subsystems and stuff. But like, getting a handle on them was great, and it was fun. Nero Gigante is my favorite monster. He's just an edgy boy, and I like that.
Do you kill them or do you capture them?
I beat the shit out of them.
Okay.
I knocked them unconscious.
I think you get like more out of them if you...
Yeah, I do that, but
You just want to kill them.
I just need them to know I'm better.
Okay.
No tricks. I'm gonna fucking knock you down with my hammer, and I'm just gonna fucking wail on you until you're like. I'm talking to monsters, not anyone in here.
Rise looks tempting, but Monster Hunter is like Pokemon to me, where I always get them and fall off instantly. I can never click into their...
Download the demo of Rise, because that was what made me kind of go like, I don't need this. What I will say is, like, what I did say of Rise, Sea of Rise, it's like, it's all like very Japanese based, I think.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
It's drawing from a lot of like Japanese folklore, and like, I didn't really like how the environments looked, which was kind of, I think, and like, it was all fidelity to do with fidelity, but man, some really pretty monsters in there. Really, really pretty monsters.
And a dog, which really is the selling point for me.
Yeah, and you can ride them.
Don't know if I love that.
Oh, you will see it and you'll be like, this is great. But yeah, okay. Few other little updates. Back to AI Somnium Files. Coming to the end of that game. That game's getting fucking weird. I don't know what I'm dealing with anymore. And if they can tie it all together, I'll be really impressed. And also had a brief play around with new Tekken 7 character, Karate Mom Lydia, who is the Prime Minister of Poland.
The people voted for
Switzerland.
her. No, Poland.
Poland.
She's
okay.
Polish.
Yep. She's really, really cool. I think Tekken 7 have done an amazing job introducing like really, really good like DLC characters. Leroy was the last one, and he's fantastic. I think easily the best Tekken character of this generation. And Lydia is also fucking awesome. She has all these really cool like stance moves, and her design is like it's like her kind of like, she has like gi, and it's like unfolded down like by her waist, and she's a cool sports top on, and she looks awesome. But her like particular fighting style is real like sports karate, and it's like, you know, especially in a game like Tekken, it's hard to give a character karate and make it feel like unique. But this is real, like very realistic karate. They're not doing any kind of like, well, like there's you know, uppercuts that knock people into the sky and stuff, but like there's no real crazy bullshit like with the Mishimas. And her animation's fantastic and really, really conveys that. She has like all these like dashing punches and like really crazy stance switches that just look beautiful and are like, you know, they are all ripped from like karate katas, and she really feels like a character where a lot of love went into her. I'm never going to play her competitively, and I know people have a bunch of shit to say about her and Leroy and how they play in like high tier Tekken. I'm never going to be there. I'm just good enough to beat all my friends. That's all I care about. And she seems really, really fun.
I've got one other game to add. I played Little Nightmares 2 as well.
Oh, no way.
Oh, yeah.
And I enjoyed it. It looks amazing. I like the pacing of it. My only fussy fanny thing I have to say about it is, you know when you get your chase sequence? Mm-hmm. Did you die a lot during those?
Oh, yeah.
I really wish they had more momentum, because I love the puzzles in those games, but I found the controls overly clunky, especially when you had those rare moments of combat and you have to swing a heavy axe or a heavy hammer, and you always botch it the first few times until...
And I kind of liked that, but it was annoying.
It gets frustrating after a while.
I like the feel of it, but it...
It does.
There was one in particular where the camera, instead of being like lengthways across the screen, you were coming down the screen, and you had to get 2 hits in, and I couldn't. I know.
I can see the exact bit you're talking about.
It's kind of got like a stuck in the mud delay to it with the controls. But that's my only gripe with the game. I thought it was very good, and I like the ending.
Particularly, there's one sequence, the last escape sequence, looks fucking incredible, I thought.
Yeah, it does.
But that was the part where I died the most, and like by the end of it, I was like, okay. Like, the effect was kind of lost, and I thought that was a shame.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure it's more fun to watch someone who's very good at that game play it.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, but also good work to them.
Have you played the first one? Or
I played the first one a couple of years ago.
Cool.
But there we go, a game we all played.
That
came out this year, so there you go, everyone. Game of the year.
Yeah, we're calling it early. That's it.
I did pre-order Resident Evil Village for PS5.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that.
I was so close to getting the collector's edition, but then I was just like, I don't need Big Chris in his trench coat on my desk.
No.
Actually.
No. You can know someone who has that, and that's enough.
It's true.
Yeah. Quicktime Events.
Video game news, hot off the press.
Yep, hot off the press.
You've heard it here first.
Yep. That is the advantage about like releasing a podcast every 2 weeks and then recording it and then releasing it nearly a week later, which is fucking razor's edge of news every time.
News from March released in April.
Yep.
Fucking brilliant.
Absolutely. The PS3, Vita, and PSP stores to be permanently closed in a few months. This sucks.
I think it's July, or is it August?
It's 2nd of July for PSP, and PS3 and PS Vita are the 27th of August.
And is there a cutoff for downloading stuff as well, or?
I think those are the cutoff dates.
Just for everything.
But I know they've made it harder to do. I think the stores have disappeared. Like, you can't buy it through browser. You have to buy them on the console.
On the console storefront.
It's a shame because like once a year I'll take out my PS Vita some evening and just see what weird shit is on there and download some garbage and just be like, okay, Sony.
They've not done a sale on those 3 systems in about a year, and I know when they redid the PS storefront and got rid of the wish list, they also just removed easy access to those old systems. It seems like they're really just focusing on PS4 and PS5 now.
I hate that they've taken away the browser wish listing.
Yeah,
it was like the easiest way to do it. It's kind of cumbersome to do it.
Like, it's weird that Nintendo has wish listing and Sony doesn't.
It's like you can do it now on the
you can
store, but it's still like not great.
No.
I don't know. I miss the browser store.
They need to work out some kinks with that.
Yeah, they do.
Stuff.
Are there any PS3, PSP Vita games? Anything you?
I'm thinking of going back and grabbing Tokyo Jungle.
Do get Tokyo Jungle. I've got that in my PS3, and Persona 4 Arena Ultimax Suplex Hold.
They never did update that. That's fucked up. That's such a good game.
I'm pretty sure that game's only on the PS3 and maybe the 360.
Persona game.
It's a really good game. I think it got a physical release, but like
it did. You was holding the belt very sexily.
Yes. But that was a PS Plus game.
He has his shirt open.
He does. It was a PS Plus game back in like 2015 or 2016. So I have it from there. But yeah, that game still does well in the arcades.
Yeah.
Have you ever played Siren Blood Curse, John?
No, always been interested. That was one of the original Silent Hill dudes made that, didn't he? I've watched multiple video essays on each one of those games, but I've never played them.
It's sad to see the stores go, but now you have a good reason to hack your PSP and your PS Vita. Probably not a great reason to hack the PlayStation 3. There's not much on that.
No.
Yeah, most stuff's been re-released.
Yeah.
Niantic are making a Pikmin AR game for mobile.
I put this one down, thought that was very cool. Niantic are the developers behind Pokemon Go, and 2 big kind of Nintendo, Pokemon's not Nintendo, but like Nintendo adjacent IP is that there's a Pokemon mobile game and there's a Mario Kart mobile game, and so it's very unusual for Pikmin, which is not a major IP, to have a mobile game coming out, and it's going to use geotagging or geolocation similar to Pokemon Go, but you will send out small armies of Pikmin to collect stuff, and then you'll check in later on your checkpoint to see what they have found.
Is this something you're going to check out, Bryan?
Yeah, absolutely. I love Pikmin. And
Yeah, I'm just glad to see Pikmin not being dead.
yes, like Doshin.
Did you ever go near Pikmin, Niamh?
No, I played one of the first ones, but
I think there's an amusement you would get out of it. I'm not sure if that's playing it necessarily.
Yeah, I love Pikmin 3. I've got the deluxe version on Switch, so I might lend it to you at some point, Niamh.
Cool.
But when I play Pikmin, I'm like, oh, look at the little fellas. Look at them going along the floor. They're so small.
they are very cute.
Yeah,
They're
and like
brilliant.
the environmental art in it, like it looks so fucking nice.
Yeah.
Especially Pikmin 3. But yeah, that's cool. Cyberpunk 2077 Mega Patch.
How many gigs was this fucker? Can I find out?
Yeah, search for that. This is just a huge patch, and I just put this down because I thought it was interesting how big it is. Like, this is reams, like pages and pages and pages
Of
and
footnotes.
pages of footnotes of what they've fixed, from misspellings to cop spawns and just like so much stuff. And it's just like, it really gets me because the way they were talking about it after release, like, no, this was our vision, this was perfect, it was just the older consoles that had issues. And then you release a patch doc like this, and obviously great that they're patching it,
Well, like,
but it's
you know,
just like,
as they said, if their QA team wasn't such a bunch of fuck ups.
it's just crazy that they're like, it's our perfect vision. Here's everything we fixed. And also, because it's kind of fundamentally broken, there's a lot of streamers who are streaming this patch and cars are still falling from the sky. So they've fixed a lot of stuff, but this is still not. People should not be playing this still.
I was watching Rebecca watching Vine Sauce play it, and he still had the bingo card out for, you know, all the different, like, what could happen goofs. Still ticked off a lot of them. I have it here. So this is called patch 1.2, and it's 33.6 gigabytes on the PC
Jesus.
and around 44 gigabytes on the PS4, PS5.
Wow. Niamh, you've beaten Cyberpunk?
Yeah.
Is there a world where you go back to this?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait until they get their DLC out, because that'll give me some story stuff to go back to.
can play their
and
Game of the
also
Year edition.
see it. Yeah, and play it on PS5 compared to playing it on the PS4 Pro, just to kind
I
of.
bet that'll be pretty interesting.
Yeah, just for like the contrasting experiences, because like for as broken as it was, there was a lot of character stuff I did enjoy in it, so I would like to play it again and experience a better version of it, and hopefully be able to report that it's actually worth buying now, because it is not worth anyone's time as is.
Cool.
I gave it to a friend and she was just like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
That's how good it is.
Okay.
Good game.
The most important story of the day. Balan Wonderworld patch due to seizure risk.
It's getting photosensitive epilepsy fails.
In the last boss fight, I believe.
Yeah, lots of solid, hard colors flickering every 1 or 2 frames.
This is the tweet that they put out. Please ensure that you install the day 1 patch before playing. We have received reports of a photosensitive epilepsy risk from a potential flashing bug if playing the game unpatched. The day 1 patch prevents this issue as well as enhances the overall play experience.
Oh dear.
I feel like this is something they should have caught.
I know in Japan they take PSE fails like extremely seriously because of the Pokemon episode that aired in the mid-90s that caused the show to go on hiatus for 6 months and a bunch of senior management to lose their jobs. Like, this is a children's game and it's ridiculous that it was
that
not.
like a Pokemon episode? Like, I heard about that it
It's
was
the
kind of
Porygon
like,
episode.
Yeah, but I heard then that it was kind of like a group psychosis kind of thing where like.
I think that might be people playing up that side
Yeah.
of it.
Oh, okay, okay. So
no,
it was actually
I-
triggering seizures.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely like I've
Okay.
had to fix lots of PSE fails in animation, and that has like it ticks all the boxes of like a large object that is occupying like a solid color that's occupying more than 60% of the screen, alternating colors.
You know, YouTube doesn't have like an auto checker for that stuff.
No.
Isn't that crazy?
Whoa, that is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it's weird the way they do it with big companies. Like I know with a lot of animation brands, they'll have their own internal system, or some TV networks like BBC will have it, but then others do not have it, and it's kind of up to
Yeah.
whoever the host is to take care of that. I know this is an independent game, but I
don't know if this is independent.
Yeah,
I think Square published this.
Square published it. Yeah, you're right, and it's done by R2.
It's Yuji Naka's last shot.
Yeah, it's made by the studio that's not called R-Tune anymore. Has a different name, but they did all the shitty 2D Yoshi platformers, like the one on the 3DS, Yoshi's New Island.
It's so funny because like I played Balan Wonderworld.
I keep thinking Wonderland as well.
Same, yeah. I saw a Reset Air thread being like Wonderworld or Wonderland, but that is not a game where things went right.
No,
that is an extremely strange game to the point that I was about half hour into it and I was like, I hope Yuji Naka's doing all right.
Apparently a lot of the cutscenes and the narrative don't make any sense in like a Lynchian way, but like not in like a cool way.
So I was playing in the farm world and I saw a farmer and I approached him and he was like 40 feet tall. And then I walked up to him and he disappeared. And so I walked away and then I looked back and he was back staring at me with the deadest eyes I've ever seen.
Truly is a Wonderworld.
Yeah, I think I might get this game.
Maybe you should.
Just to experience it.
I want to experience it. I think it'd be really fun to stream. And I might stream it this weekend. So if you're listening to this Monday, I streamed it 2 days ago. So if you want to find a way to come back and join me for that stream... Look, I can't fucking figure everything out each time, okay? Just find a way.
Yeah. It's not our problem.
Yeah.
It's Balan's problem.
But yeah, please join me live for that stream.
I can't believe this fucking game. Also the fact that it's getting reverse review bombed. Like... people are praising this game as like a troll.
But like it's not just a bad game, it's completely just fucking weird. Like it's so strange.
It's a confused, incompetent game.
Yeah, like you play it and you press X and he jumps, and then you press square, he also jumps, then you press triangle and circle and those make him jump too, because the game doesn't have buttons, it just has the fucking one mega button, and you get like powers, like, and it's like you play as a kangaroo. Niamh, what do you think the kangaroo's power is?
Jumping.
That's right, it creates tornadoes.
Yeah.
That would be a bird.
And it's like
the bird can breathe fire.
It's like this weird, because it's supposed to be kind of like a mishmash of like Knights, Billy Hatcher, and then maybe a bit of Sonic, but more so Knights and Billy Hatcher, which were very personal games, and there are people who grew up with those games and they have a fondness for them. And Balan Wonderworld is supposed to be this new game that harkens back to that, but it doesn't, and there's some weird creepy shit in it. And
it has high amounts of Dreamcast energy.
Yeah.
But it's also high amounts of like, what was like the design doc here? Like what is the goal of this game? Because it controls like an ass dipped in cement, and it like its art direction is like the fever dream of like an old cat who's just been given LSD. Like it's just fucking it looks insane.
It looks like the children from Knights went to the wrong part of town and took a lot of ecstasy and went to a nightclub.
Yeah.
And now they're in the bathroom and they're playing Balan Wonderworld.
It's like what a crazy old person thinks children want.
Yeah.
It's kind of fascinating. I think I might get it.
Future John, did you get it? We'll find out.
Emails.
We have an email address, finally.
They finally sent us one.
Yeah, it took a bit of time. I asked around and my dad told me you need to make one yourself. I was like, oh my god.
Get out of town.
No way. It is askletsfightaboss@gmail.com. What is it, Niamh?
askletsfightaboss@gmail.com.
I got some emails here already highlighted. Do you want me to start off with one?
Go for
it, Bryan.
Okay. This one's funny. This is from Pokey Joe. Hey, brain, name, and job. Okay. What would be your worst addition to the Smash Ultimate roster? What are some of the moves they'd have, and what would their final Smash attack be? So it's got to be a video game character, but just what's the worst one you can think of?
Connor from Detroit Become Human.
Oh, that's really good.
He has one punching animation that's like not really, so like his legs will run and he will kind of just extend his fist back and forth, and all his special moves is that at different momentums, except he says a different line from Detroit.
I'd love if he like dies, but then he gets replaced immediately, but it doesn't count as losing a life because he was so replaceable. Mm-hmm. Well, who else is super lame? Okay, I want the guy. Okay. I want the Watchtower from Firewatch. Okay, no, okay. I want the Firewatch level. I want the fucking dude on the walkie-talkie. And what's he do? He just talks to people?
He just talks to Diane or whatever her face is. And the other one.
And the helicopter shows up and then it flies away and he looks at it and goes, oh. Yeah.
That is bad.
I just want Firewatch. I want Firewatch in the game. I think there'd be a bunch of jerks who'd be like, perfect. And I'd be like, that's not perfect at all.
You?
Dante.
He could potentially.
He's terrible.
He will be in it at some point.
I know. I'm being a little stinker.
Niamh, wait, what? Like, what's the beef with Dante?
I just think he's annoying. He's just
in all the games or just 5?
He's fine in the first game. The problem is that he just won't resolve his issues with Virgil, and that's really annoying. We've got 5 games where they have not resolved their issues.
They love each other.
And even by the end of 5, they're kind of resolved.
Bryan, you'll get cancelled.
You'll get to 6, they will not be
brothers,
resolved again.
As brothers.
And I just think that's very boring.
You just don't know the heart of battle, Niamh.
Just go, I don't know, go to therapy. It's fun. Like, just punch each other and then move on to Nero's story.
That's not how this works, Niamh.
Okay, who's a bad character I want in Smash?
Do you want the guy from Days Gone?
Oh, Deacon? Yeah, Deacon's pretty good.
Is his win quote like, I'm gonna ride you like I ride my mom, or whatever the fucking line?
Yeah, that's what he says to fucking Kirby. I'm gonna ride you like I ride my
No,
mother.
she says it to him, isn't it?
Yeah, she
she goes.
That's on their wedding day.
She goes.
John.
I hope you ride me as hard as your Harley. I think that's
as your hog or
as
something.
your hog.
Or your chopper. God, that game is so bad.
That game is part of the PS Plus for April.
Why are you guys so afraid of eroticism?
There should be no sex in video games. It's all bad.
She said it. She fucking said it. We got her. Oh man.
Okay, I got another one.
Fucking put Balan in there.
Yeah, Balan.
Balan's not even the main character. He's a weird wizard.
He's the bad guy, isn't he?
No, I know he's a weird wizard that auras the bosses when you beat them, and it turns into a rhythm game for like 5. I don't know. It's a fucking such a weird game.
Okay, we got another email that's full of good old simple questions. This one is from William, and he says our names correctly. Not sure about that, but thank you, William. Okay, number 1. If a powerful wizard cursed you to live the rest of your life as a vegetable, which vegetable would you choose?
Turnip.
I'm going to be corn on the cob.
Sweet potato.
I think they're all very hearty vegetables. We'll survive.
Real starchy boys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, number 2. You can cast your fellow podcasters in any hypothetical movie adaptation of a video game, and they cannot refuse. What do you cast them as? I'm going to cast Niamh as Dante in Devil May Cry, the movie. John, I'm going to cast you as... Let me get back to that one, actually. I gotta pick a real special one for John. Can't fuck around with that one.
I feel like I have to put you in a Mario or a Kirby game.
Yeah.
It makes the most sense. But you're like an evil businessman that has kidnapped Kirby and wants to bring him to a special creature zoo and there's some child who saves the day. And it isn't about
some little fucking shit.
Well, see, Kirby can't talk, so they need someone with a speaking role to fucking fill in the gaps. Yeah.
Bryan, I'm gonna cast you as I would like to see you in a Silent Hill movie, because I would be fascinated as to your approach in what to do. I would also be fascinated about what your Silent Hill would be. And Niamh, I'm gonna cast you as Lara Croft's girlfriend so that I can hang that over you for the rest of your life and be like, remember the time I fucking did that for you?
Thank you.
It's completely selfish.
Yeah,
though.
no, that's okay. I'm fine with that.
Hey, John, I'm going to cast you as Rio in the film adaptation
This is the only answer, right?
of
Yeah.
Shenmue 3.
Should I cosplay Rio?
Yeah.
I think I should.
John, you should be Rio in Shenmue 3. Just do a little bit of gambling.
I came up with this bit for a video that I can never talk about public. I'm going to talk about it to you too later.
Okay. John's going to tell us about his weird sexting.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. That's just 100% what I meant.
Okay, number 3. What is your favorite number? Mine is number 8.
17.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
13.
13. John, that's a bold number.
Satan's number.
No, Satan's number is 666.
Damn it.
Okay, number 4. You have been invited to a decadent dandy's dinner. After arriving, they inform you that unfortunately you're not here as a guest, but as the meal. But to be sporting, they'll give you a head start and try and let you evade capture. Upon your inevitable capture, would you prefer to be the starter, main, or dessert?
This is after my karate has failed.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to be dessert because I'm so sweet.
Oh, okay. John's main and I'm starter.
Yeah, absolutely. John, you've still got a lot of meat in that bone.
You would be the best main.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm sure we'd all serve our roles very well.
we would. Be yum yum, Brian's bomb.
I would not run as well because that's all they want you to do.
Oh, I'm not fucking running. I'm fucking putting on my belt and being like, let's go.
I'm going to douse myself in sugar so I taste even better.
So you were going to say petrol and I was like, whoa.
Okay, I changed my answer.
Okay, have you ever heard of the Argentinosaurus that is a real dinosaur? Yep, I've heard of that. It's discovered in Argentina about 20 years ago. It's like a brontosaurus. It's a 4-legged, long-necked dinosaur. Fucking insanely huge.
Oh, yeah?
I think they had one in the Natural History Museum in LA, the one we were in. I think they had parts of it, or maybe it was the one in New York. I can't remember.
That day was so fucking hot. That's
Yeah.
all I can think of.
We really didn't make the right decision to walk in not the side with the shade.
Yeah.
We're just not used to the sun.
Just bad at
Yeah, now that you've said that, I'm just like, wait, we did that?
it. Yeah, we totally did.
We walked through.
It's like, you know when there's a group of more than 3 people and your decision-making ability goes to absolute shit? That's what happened.
I'm real glad when we called the Uber.
Yeah.
That made sense.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there was one more. This is good. Would you rather fight a kangaroo-sized rat or 100 rat-sized kangaroos?
The one kangaroo rat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to win either of these fights, so I'm going to fight 100 rats because I want to see how many I can take down. I could probably get about 60 of them down. But the last 40 are going to get
That's
through.
a tough one.
I like that
I-
you think you'd beat 60. That's quite a high
Yeah,
number.
Yeah, I know. No, like, I'm going to stomp on them, but eventually the
You
stomping
see, the
isn't going
the
to
problem though, Brian, is you're talking about small creatures with the ability to jump,
kick them.
and they're going to
bite.
swarm you.
Yeah, I still want to fight multiples.
How many kids do you two think you can beat up?
I 10. 10 before the guilt sets in. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, sorry, that wasn't specific
That's
enough.
such a weird
How many
question.
5-year-olds do you think you could beat up?
Okay, so 5-year-olds and they're being noisy out in the street and you have to tell them to shut the fuck up and you've no choice but to beat the fucking wail on them.
100.
You could beat up 100 5-year-olds.
No fucking problem.
Do you-
5-year-olds.
Why do you stop after 100? Is that just because
Because
100's
at that
a nice
point,
number?
the other 1,000 no.
Yeah, I think you could just like, it'd be like stepping on ants. Like you could just do it until you just didn't feel like it anymore.
Okay, how many full-grown men, but like Photoshop Control Shift transformed down to like 1 foot tall?
Did they all attack you at once?
And they're all adult men but small.
Yeah.
I'd say I'd take about 50 of them.
I don't know why I'm giving realistic answers to these unrealistic questions, but like 8 of these small men. Do I get a weapon?
No.
You don't get your gun, Niamh.
8.
When does Niamh not have her gun? That's not realistic. I think what you do is you grab the first one you can, you rip them open above your head and like drench yourself in the blood because none of the others are going to want to come near you.
So the first thing that happened when we started recording this podcast, Niamh sat down and went like, and just put her gun down on the table.
I just have to do it every
It's her piece.
time.
I'm sorry for touching your piece.
I've been thinking about buying a baseball bat lately.
We've got a baseball bat.
Have you for protection?
What happened was a friend of ours gave us a baseball bat when they moved to Finland, and then Rebecca held onto it for a cosplay because she was playing as Mako from Kill la Kill, and there's a bit where she has a baseball bat, but like it's not a piece bondable piece of prop cosplay. It's a hard piece of wood, and sometimes when I'm away for the weekend, she'll be home alone and she sleeps with the baseball bat.
See, that makes sense. You see, I have the other problem where we have a foam baseball bat because Rebecca was cosplaying Majima.
Yes.
So I can use that to scare people away, but once I swing it,
not
the illusion has
Do
broken.
you know what I have instead of a baseball bat?
What?
Karate.
No, it's not going to do.
Yeah, like if they have anything else, like
Karate going to work against a knife?
Yeah. Just it's the same principle as if someone tried to shoot me with a gun. I would kind of deflect and then spin around and send the path of the bullet back towards them. And I'd probably miss the first time just so that they knew I had the ability to do that.
Oh, okay.
I think if the knife like broke the skin on your body a tiny bit, the sharp pain would make you wince and you
Well, you
lose
see, Bryan,
all
I'd deflect
confidence.
the path of the knife kind of 360 degrees and then shoot it back towards them.
Oh, okay. You've really got it figured out.
I do.
Yeah.
I have like this feeling when it comes to buying the baseball bat where I feel like a wave of Irish guilt for not immediately thinking of a hurl.
Yeah,
Just having a hurl.
Yeah, you should get a
Would a
hurling
hurl
stick or a
not-
camogie
Yeah,
stick, something.
Would a hurl not be... maybe baseball bats are harder than hurls.
No, you can kill someone with a hurl, but like
Yeah, you could.
For some reason, my mind for like you need a protection weapon goes to baseball bat instead of hurl. But maybe I should have a hurl because that's easier to explain as a sport.
I got a solution to your problems. Dual wield.
Baseball bat in one hand, hurl another.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Call
okay
it
with
right
that.
chaos and justice on them in each.
Justice is definitely the hurl.
Oh, yeah.
And then when they fail, then it's time for the gun. Do you know at the start,
The gun.
like Bryan was saying about how she puts the gun on the table, she also goes like, "What do you guys think of my gun?" And we're like, "Yeah, Niamh."
Same as last time.
Yeah.
There she is. We know to call it a her now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have said
And
he
she'll be
the
like-
first time.
And she'll always be like, "Do you know how many bullets are in here?" And we're like, "Is it two, Niamh?" And then she kind of nods.
She smiles and goes, "Used to be 3."
Yeah.
I'm always worried for Bryan's safety because, as mentioned, if she tried anything on me, I would deflect the bullet and kind of spin 360 degrees and send it back at her.
What I would do is I'd get shot, but I'd film it, and you'd be in so much trouble on Twitter.
Oh.
I think my body would just push back at the bullet.
Because you're a
What are
vampire.
you going to do then, Bryan?
Yeah.
I'd be just be
So
really.
you're the only one who hasn't thought about this.
I'd be like, whoa, that's really cool.
And yeah, you know what? I respect you. I'm not going to shoot you anymore.
Thanks.
See, we all have our own ways of conflict resolution.
Gotta be a suck up. I think we're okay for emails.
Okay.
They were very good emails, though. Thank you so much. We've gotten some great emails. Keep them coming.
Yeah, keep them coming.
I love the ones with the quick questions because
I have noticed a significant rise in what I'm going to call email etiquette.
Yes.
And we appreciate it.
you have optimized yourself and the potential is there to have your email read out.
Patreon shoutouts.
The Patreon is doing so well. I'm so proud of everyone.
So
But I think we could do better.
I have something to declare, okay?
Go on.
Traditionally, the Let's Fight a Boss has been very, I would say, we don't just let anyone in as a patron. You know, people apply and we either accept them or reject them. I'm not going to get into how many rejections we've made. It might be none. It might be a lot. So what I'm going to say is for the next 2 weeks until the next episode, for the first time ever, I'm going to throw open the gates and I'm going to say anyone who applies for the Patreon, anyone who is brave enough to make that $3 donation, no matter who you are, no matter how little, broken, or weak you are, you will be granted access to the Let's Fight a Boss Patreon community. You don't have to worry about fear. You don't have to worry about rejection. You don't have to worry that you're not good enough, because for 2 weeks, we guarantee you will be. Only for 2 weeks. Now, I know everyone's excited. I want everyone to calm down. Once that 14-day window is closed, the three of us are slamming shut this offer, and we will return to our regular, we review your application to become our patron. And I would say things are going to tighten up a lot. I would say there's going to be a lot of rejection at that point. Do not put yourself through that. World's in a bad place. Life's stressful. Do not add the stress of whether you can become a member of this Patreon. Just give yourself a gift. Give yourself the gift of freedom. Give yourself the gift of a new life on the Let's Fight a Boss Discord. Bryan, someone becomes a patron and they actually get accepted because, for the next 2 weeks, that's what's going to happen.
Yep.
They hit that Discord. What's the first thing they do?
They get a warm welcome.
Would they go to the welcome channel?
They would. They would go to the welcome channel and everyone would be real nice to them. Sometimes I'm there too, because what else am I going to do?
Yep.
But we got this other thing called the Patreon shoutouts. You type something, we'll say it. Within our limits, but we'll say it.
We'll absolutely say it.
We will consider it with our brains and then use our mouth words.
Yep.
That's how we talk. I'm sorry, I'm tired.
I think there's been a kind of delirious tone to this episode, and I think that speaks to how tired we all are.
That's okay.
I'm having a terrific time.
I can't wait for Easter. I'm going to eat some eggs.
Will I take this first one?
Yes, I'll take the second one.
Zeramar. Pro tip, in DMC5, you can change the zoom on all characters in the options menu. Zeramar, you left this 2 years ago, and I don't know what the context is.
I think I was talking about how when you play as V, the camera is zoomed out automatically.
Oh.
But when you play as Dante and Nero, it's a bit more cropped in.
Bryan, do you want to read this next one?
This one's from Lemmy, and Lemmy says, Bryan is my name, collecting Kirby is my game.
That sounds like something you'd say.
It is. Oh my god.
Niamh?
And this is from Arch Rival. John, I understand your dance you have for American Horror Story. My girlfriend and I have a dance for Desperate Housewives. Just embrace and accept it.
That's good.
That's a really good show to have a dance to.
Yeah.
That's really, really
And the
cool.
music kind of carries out throughout the episode because the theme tune is kind of ad break jingle as well. Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. We very much appreciate it. Okay, so Tournament of the Nameless, the biggest event in the Let's Fight a Boss calendar, is coming soon. We're workshopping it. We have some high concept systems and mechanics. There's going to be full on rule sets. You guys will be directly involved. It's going to be a war, but we need time to let that baby cook, to just let it sit.
We are so old and sweaty now.
We are still in lockdown.
We are still in lockdown. It's coming. The Tournament of the Nameless is coming. We promise. Loot drop.
We're at the end of the show. We got some goodies for you.
Mine is Little Nas X video, Montero, or Call Me By Your Name. I think this is a great video. It's just so...
Is this the one where he lap dance Satan?
Yeah, it's fucking brilliant.
I think it's just fantastically gay and just so authentically his vision, but also really pulling from just classic gay erotica like Pink Narcissus and stuff like that. And I just love the visuals. I love how brave Lil Nas X is for doing it. I love his humor, that he's dealing with all the pushback he's getting from it, because at the end of the day, this is a gay guy who made a video about a love song, if you listen to him describe the song, and a lot about self-love in the video, and he is getting a lot of homophobic pushback from really conservative Christians, and it fucking sucks. And even though he deals with it in like the most witty and charming and hilarious way possible, like he's good at dunking back on these fools, it's still really sad to see crazy levels of homophobia. And I just want people to support it, because I think like it's a great song and it's a great video, and he shouldn't have to deal with this shit. Even if he can, he shouldn't have to deal with it.
He's like 21. He came out publicly when he was 19.
The plus side of it is he's absolutely playing them like a fucking fiddle.
Yeah.
And like those morons are pushing it higher. Doesn't make it any more pleasant when you see just like the level of fucking idiocy with these people. But yeah, it's cool.
He's a true gay icon, and I think he's great.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
I got one from a YouTuber I like, and I talked about this video. The name of the channel escapes me, apologies, but it's called I'm Bad, and it's about being bad at fighting games, but really it's about being like, it's about the mindset people get in when they think they're bad at something, and how that really cuts them off from that activity. And it's specifically him talking about like Guilty Gear Revelator 2, but it's like it could just apply to anything. And I thought it was a really, really well-written video, and surprisingly heartfelt for a commentary on like a fighting game, and I thought it was good.
Then mine is a YouTuber called Jake Zeman, and it's a 20-minute video on Keith Haring. And I love Keith Haring's art. I grew up with Keith Haring's art, because you would always see it like emulated on like playground walls. Like it's a very distinct art style, and he was very much an independent artist, but he knew how to get into the mass appeal. He passed away when he was 31 years old. He was like same age as my parents. If he'd still be alive, he'd be the same age as them. And it's just a really interesting documentary, and there's loads and loads of footage. I didn't realize how many interviews and how much street art was documented of him. And it's just a nice introduction to his art and kind of what he believed in and what his approach to art was.
Cool.
I love Keith Haring.
Yeah.
Cool art.
And
cool
like his stuff still exists, and I'll usually like I know with some brands they'll have a Keith Haring line, but it'll always be like the profits go to some charity. I don't know. I like his stuff. It's cool that you kind of grow up with it, and then you kind of find out more about him, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, totally.
I'm tired. Sorry.
That's okay, Brian. You did eat a lot of fish.
I had fish and chips for dinner, and it was amazing, and it was a treat, and now I'm suffering for it, because that's what happens when you are old and sweaty.
Brian described that to me in somewhat more vivid terms earlier, but maybe that's best not said on the podcast.
You don't want me to say the two words that I combined together?
I mean, that's up to you, buddy.
A protein dam.
No.
Just something to think about, everyone.
At least we have a title for the podcast now.
No, this episode is being called Cult Classic.
Yeah, Cult Classic. And then it's going to be the little tagline I'm going to write is time to ping pong you around tech support. That okay, John?
Oh, I got to call him tomorrow. And like the problem is I think I'm going to just fucking lose it the moment it starts. Like when someone's like, okay, sir, well, we can take you to, I'm just going to be like, ah! And I'm just going to start screaming down the phone, and they're not going to be able to hang up because they're not allowed to hang up. Oh. So that's my day tomorrow.
Sounds like a good day.
Kind of sort of standard, honestly.
I got nothing.
Brian, what's happening here, buddy? Just lead the episode to a smooth close.
Okay.
Just land the plane.
I have a burp trapped inside me and I can't get it out. I also need to crack my back, but I did it in the middle of the episode and it sounded like so many chairs collapsing on themselves. And
I feel like if this episode was like a stock price, like I think it was a pretty fucking strong episode all the way through. Right now, we are plummeting and we are in free fall, which is why I'm so glad that we have Niamh get us out of here.
Oh no.
It really sucks how like something can start off really strong, but if the last bit of it is bad, that's all people will remember.
That's all people remember.
And they just shit on
Niamh,
it.
I'll get you out of here. Brian, I'm sorry. I didn't set you up last time. Here comes Brian with the funniest joke anyone's ever heard. Go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Super Eye Patch Wolf.
Oh, he got you there.
I admit defeat, end the episode.
Gotcha.
That was pretty good.
How about
I am exhausted.
how about I don't hit stop? I'm actually
No! Brian, why?